Yvonne.
And I'm your way with yet another episode. But our excitement will be greater if you go out there and share the feed before we start, as usual, so that we can notify as many people as possible that we on. So please go out there and share the feed so we get started. Okay. So let them know we live. And as usual, when you join, just let us know so we can interact with you better. Okay. Yep. Okay. So again, when you join, let us know so we get you into the discussion. Um, let me get this thing sorted out, and then I can go ahead. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so today we want to discuss a major aspect of marriage, which we will definitely get into, or we are already experiencing, right? So um, think about it. Hey, Sabi, good to have you. Think about it. Most times, people don't set out to get married with ill intentions, unless someone who works for a secret service or something and is just marrying to achieve something, a mission that the person has to accomplish. But more often than not, the joy you see on people's faces on the um, wedding day or during the marriage anniversary, most often than not, is real. It's not like they're trying to fake it, right? But then comes the question, what happened? Or what causes all that joy to fade and all of a sudden, people who are supposed to be the best thing that happened to each other are now at loggerheads with each other and so on and so forth. And in some cases, end up, unfortunately, in divorce. So we will try to look at some of the reasons for such unhappy endings. I would want to start with this. First of all, we can get to a point where we take our marriages for granted, right? Because it looks like everything is rosy, everything is cool, everything is um, happy go lucky. And because of that, um, there is no conscious attention or conscious effort to get the marriage going. Hey, Stephen, good to have you. So just think about it. It's about some. It's like someone who is taking a long journey on say one of the interstates or on a motorway, right? And the road is clear, everything looks okay, and the person has engaged cruise control. When it happens like that, chances are your focus now goes to maybe getting some snacks, chatting, making a phone call, although he's not supposed to do that. And what it does is that the attention is not necessarily on guiding that ship or on because you're on cruise control, right? I mean, you don't need to do anything. You just go in. And when it happens like that, you realize that um, the kind of attention you give to the relationship or to the marriage in the initial stages wouldn't necessarily be there, because in your mind that part has been sorted out. So hey, go out and enjoy. So number one point is lack of attention or taking the relationship for granted. Prissy, do you have any points in this regard as well? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, taking the relationship for granted, most of us women would marry and tell our men that you have changed. All the efforts the man puts in wooing the woman after they get married, they
Right.
also stop that. So maybe you were so concerned, you were calling the person at night and all that, all those long time chats and all that. But it seems that everything wanes right after they are married. Not even right after, maybe after a while into the marriage, and then the women start complaining that you have changed. Yeah, so I believe that sometimes some of the things or the efforts we put into getting the person to be our spouses, um, is it that we cut down on them, or cutting down is not bad, but then not doing it completely, like doing away with it, is what sometimes causes those drifts.
Right. And for all these things we are saying, there always seems to be excuses you can come up with for why things are the way they are, right? But the fact is, if you let excuses get in the way, then all that you'll be left with are excuses. And so, regardless of what life throws at you, if your marriage is really something you care about, then you should always put in the effort to ensure that there is always that spark in the relationship and so on and so forth. Because the reality is that there is, like I always say, life happens, right? There are a lot of pressure, there are a lot of things you'll be dealing with, but we should always have that your relationship, your marriage as a priority. And if you can always keep it up there, then there would be reason enough to also give it attention or give it a lot of effort, because it's just like how you start seeing a lot of weeds around when you don't give attention to your garden or to your yeah, whatever farmland you have. If you it gets to a point and it looks like, okay, the fruits have started growing and everything is sprouting good, it doesn't give you the reason not to attend to it any longer, because otherwise what you notice is that at some point weed starts growing and the weeds can easily overtake your the plants, the correct plants in your farm. Now, again, with regards to the change thing that Prissy mentioned, I remember years ago saying this: um, people don't change, right? Like we've always been saying, don't marry someone and expect that the person would all of a sudden put away all the bad lifestyle and become a great person all of a sudden. And don't also, in the same way, don't expect that someone who is good will all of a sudden become a monster, unless the person was a monster undercover, right? But I also want to speak about this part. Now, people don't change, but they have reactions, okay, to marriage. So for example, if there are people you realize that you stop talking or you stop advising them because you realize that when you do number one, they take it for granted, right? So it is not like the one advising has changed or the advisor has changed. It is the advisor now reacting to the feedback he's getting from the advice he's giving, right? And so it's the same thing in marriage. People will remain what they are, but you'd realize that people start searing their conscience, if I could put it that way, in regards to specific things, right? And so, if, like Chrissy mentioned, it looks like you stop um, winning over your spouse like you used to do when you were younger or when you were dating, then you realize that that part of the person gets dead. It's more like, okay, this guy would never do anything, or this lady would never do anything. Let me think about myself, right? And so in that way, what is happening is that the reaction there is that people are killing a certain part of themselves because of whatever is happening. So you wouldn't woo me, then I wouldn't even waste my time to expect it because it would never come, right? And so people don't change, but people react to situations, and it sometimes makes them dead in certain aspects, right? So, or like one spouse does something and the other spouse keeps complaining over and over again. If that spouse doesn't change, chances are that the one at the receiving end will just get to a point where their conscience are seared, like they are dead to that very thing they've been complaining about over and over again. And if nothing is done about it, they don't care. So they will be in the marriage, not that they've changed, but the kind of reaction that has been um, derived from them is making them dead to a certain aspect of the marriage. I hand over to Prissy if she has something to say.
Yeah, so with respect to that, um, assuming you married a quarrelsome person, right? And every time you start maybe to think to sit together, to reason together, it becomes a quarrel. It ends up being a fight.
Yeah,
Then I'd rather not engage you any longer. If I
exactly,
want to do something, I go ahead and do it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'd want to avoid that fight or misunderstanding. Yeah, so
yeah,
that's exactly what. So you be there and be saying that, okay, my husband doesn't involve me in decision taking, or my wife doesn't involve me in decision taking, but it's also probably because of the way you respond to um, how do you call it, the way you respond to his suggestions or um, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah, absolutely. So action and reaction are equal and opposite, right? So um, as you put something across and it's not received as expected, and it's not like whatever you put across should be received as you expect, right? Because you are not your spouse is not you, you're all trying to make things work. So it's not like it should be, but if the reception is a bit to the extreme of what you expect, then what will just happen is that you would see the spouse again at the receiving and coiling in and not interested in going further with that. And so um, let's assume that you have a spouse who um, would not is not interested in cooking, right? For the next how many years you would be married, chances are that you get to a point where you stop talking about cooking, whether you are the man or the woman. I mean, regardless. And if you are someone who wants to bring peace to the home, all you do is either you will go and learn how to cook yourself if you were not trained like that, or you would resort to being a regular customer at your local restaurant or something. Now, the third reaction is people will now start going to look out for another woman or another man or another person outside the marriage. So it's two things. Either you try to adapt to make things work and say that, okay, I'm not talking about this again. Um, let's let's just compromise for the next 50 years or 60 years. Or for someone who is not as strong, would end up going outside the marriage. Now, again, it is not because someone changed. It is because um, maybe a party took the relationship for granted, a party decided not to um,
Pay attention to the need of
exactly,
another person.
exactly. And then just the person's reaction to that would be either, okay, I'm not going to talk about this any longer, or I'm going to enroll in cooking, whatever, school to become a chef. So I wouldn't ask for food, or um, I'll end up eating in someone else's house, which might lead to different things, right? Yeah. So um, marriage is a pretty long road. There are so many hurdles you find on the way. There are so many roadblocks. There are so many checkpoints that you would see on the way, right? Now, the wisest thing to do is that at every of those checkpoints or roadblocks or whatever, you are doing a good assessment to check, are we the same? Has anyone in quotes changed? Or is anyone reacting in a certain way? And then what is the reason for that reaction? Because sometimes, I mean, depending on what the situation is, sorry, depending on what the situation is, you will need to change how you view things, or you need to change how you approach things, because you meet different situations and you have to approach it differently. So to ensure that you are always on the right path, right? So again, this whole journey will require, and at certain points it will also require a little bit of adjustments from everyone, right? So typically, if let's say that you are in a typical traditional marriage setup where the woman is responsible for cooking, and the man is responsible for eating the food. Now, let's assume that at a point the woman gets pregnant or is sick, right? That is a point that calls for adjustment. It could be a temporary adjustment, I mean, not necessarily, depending on what the situation is. But if that adjustment also doesn't come in, then it will look like, oh, the woman doesn't want to cook any longer. Small pregnancy, you don't want to cook. But it is just because one party, the husband in this scenario, is not learning to adjust to what the new situation is. And when it happens like that, then the reaction that would see from the woman is, oh, I am in this situation and you still expect me to cook. That is wickedness, right? And so the woman will feel that he got she got married to a wicked man and say the man has changed. Not necessarily. The man is only not reacting well to that particular situation. And the man will also think that small pregnancy, you no longer want to cook. The woman has changed. The woman has not changed. It is the woman's reaction to that particular situation because obviously things have happened, and so there needs to be adjustment from both sides. And so again, there will be periods when we'll need to get to um, we'll need to adjust, right? We'll need to um, squeeze in a bit because life or the road we're traveling on is not the same as it has been in the past, right? Yeah, so let me defer to Prissy.
Yeah, so as we journey on, our needs change and all that. So we also have to adjust and compromise and all that. Yeah, so when we were just by ourselves, the two of us, it's easier to even make a meal every day. There are some men that will say, I don't eat yesterday's food. And you could do that if maybe you were just the two of you cook every day. But then when the size is increasing, you'd rather want to prep maybe a week's meal or something. I think the man should understand and adjust that you cannot have fresh, maybe fresh fufu or fresh, you want fufu every day or you want banku every day. There needs to be some sort of adjustment because there's otherwise there's going to be pressure on the woman, and if the woman is a working class woman, I don't know how they're going to combine it unless if you the man want fresh food every day, then you can also help yourself to the kitchen and then make fresh meals every day for yourself. Yeah, so those are some of the adjustments that needs to be done.
You
And
know,
so you have to consider your partner's needs as well, or their strengths in delivering whatever you want from them. Yeah.
yeah, right. So, um, the to be fair to um, both parties, some of these changes that we get to meet are not things that we were prepared for when we were getting married, right? So when you go to your what do you call it, your marriage classes or something, or your what's the
Your
name,
counseling.
your counseling, yeah, when you go for your counseling sessions, probably you, because you are ready to get married and you taking the counseling session as just a necessary evil, or what was this term, to fulfill all righteousness, right? You don't necessarily, one, maybe pay attention to some of the details they are giving, or sometimes they don't get to that depth of details, right? And so all that you heard was that the woman should make sure that there is always food in the house. The other part you didn't hear is not all days are the same, and your wife could actually be a pilot, and will mean that the day she's flying, she's in another country, she's there wouldn't be food in the house. So then you get so mad. But when we went for counseling, they said there should be food in the house, and there is no food in the house. You would need to get to the point where you are adjusting sensibly, right? I mean, just add a little bit of
Wisdom.
common sense. Common sense. Wisdom is even too high. This is just common sense, right? So that it wouldn't you you wouldn't try to always be looking at that straight jacket mentality that you had before you got married, and so you go like, oh, but this was what they said, and you are not doing that, blah blah blah. I mean, if you put two and two together, you know that yes, this was what was said, but looking at the situation, there needs to be some adjustments, right? And so if you don't get to the point of really getting this in place, then you keep singing the tune that, oh, marriage is difficult, marriage is difficult. I always say, it is life that is difficult. Okay, life itself, like life and living it is difficult. It's complex. I mean, no matter how you look at it, even if you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you everything is okay, it gets to a point doing the very basic commutes, you think it's a chore, right? So no matter how you look at it, life itself is difficult. And because marriage um, is now an institution where two different people, okay, having their own lives to navigate are now coming together to make it work, then and people don't understand the dynamics of making it work, then the easiest route out is to say marriage is difficult. Again, the purpose of marriage is to rather ease the difficulty that just one person would have gone through if they were alone, right? So it's not marriage that is difficult. I disagree with that. It is life that is difficult, and marriage not run right then makes it more difficult. But if you understand what it is supposed to do, then the two of you together should rather make marriage easier, or should rather make it an easier journey, like for you guys to navigate, right? So um, so the key principle is knowing how to navigate the whole journey together. Because truth be told, if say you are in a race, okay, and you get an additional person to help you in the race, if that person is not aligned with you in a certain way, then that person will make the race difficult for you. It's as simple as that. Because if you are running in this direction and the person supposed to help you is running in the other direction, you cancel out yourselves. I watched, I think, a snapshot or a snippet of these Paralympics, and I saw that in one of the disciplines, there were blind people running, and they had aides to run with them who were not blind. So the main person in the race is a blind person, but has a partner who is not blind, who is holding on to him, and they are running together. Now, if both of you in that race don't have the right understanding as to what the destination is, or what is expected of you, or what winning looks like, one person will be going in this direction, the blind person might be going in this direction, the other person will be going in that direction, and they will end up at a point just having to stop because nothing is coming out. And that is when all the talks of divorce and stuff come in, right? So, again, in summary, there'll be a lot of roadblocks, there'll be a lot of challenges here and there. But if we can understand the rules of engagement, as it were, or how we're supposed to navigate these roadblocks or challenges together, we would end up excelling together, and life will be easier together as compared to um, us going in different directions and causing more troubles. Let me yield to Prissy one last time before we call it a day. Hey, Danny, how's it going?
Yeah, so I like the fact that you said we should just apply common sense. So I think that's all we need to do. If we can step back and put ourselves in the shoes of our partners, and then think reason why they are doing what they are doing, if that makes sense to us, then fine. I think those are some of the things that we can do to be able to adjust and compromise. Yes, so let's first put ourselves in their shoes. If we ask them to do something and they are not able to do it, let's see ourselves first in their shoes. Is this something that I can also do or something? It's not all the time, because there are sometimes we act differently in different situations. So we shouldn't expect, I'm not saying that you should expect your partner to do what you would do, but if your partner cannot do something, you should first of all see if it's reasonable, like before you go on quarreling or something.
Yeah. So if you put yourself in your partner's shoes and the shoe doesn't fit, then you need to go to the shoe store. So on that shoe fitting note, we come to the end of today's episode of Dear Van. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to come your way again next week. As always, remember that no two relationships are the same. Thanks, cheers, and bye for now.
Bye.